Today I'm going to make the most controversial video on the channel. I'm going to test women on the street. I'm going to show how far interest goes when money enters the game. And I guarantee you, the result will shock you. Jimmy Donaldson was 28 years old and was one of the biggest YouTubers in America. 85 million subscribers. Videos that hit 100 million views. He was known for doing heavy social experiments, tests that showed the dark side of people. And today he was going to do the most brutal test yet. Test gold diggers. Show the naked truth about how people change when they see money. Jimmy was in downtown Los Angeles, dressed in simple clothes, old jeans, basic white t-shirt slightly yellowed, worn-out sneakers, no expensive watch, no gold chain, nothing that indicated he had money. He looked like any regular guy, common, invisible. Next to him was Marcus, his best friend and cameraman, with a discreet camera hidden in his backpack, filming everything. "Ready, bro?" Marcus asked. "Ready. Let's see how many will give me attention like this." They were on a busy avenue, lots of people passing by, beautiful women everywhere. Jimmy took a deep breath and started. The first woman he approached was blonde, tall, expensive clothes, designer bag, clearly had money. "Hi, excuse me," Jimmy said, approaching. "Can I talk to you for a second?" The woman looked at him up and down, made a disgusted face, and didn't even respond. Simply quickened her pace and continued on, as if he were invisible. "Strike one," Marcus whispered into the camera. Jimmy tried again. Another woman, brunette, beautiful, made up. "Excuse me, sorry to bother you. Do you have a minute?" The woman stopped, looked at him, at his clothes, at the worn sneakers, and said dryly, "I don't have time, leave me alone," and left. 2 for 2, Marcus narrated quietly. Jimmy continued. He approached 5 more women in the next 20 minutes, all beautiful, all dressed up, all clearly upper middle class, and all rejected him. Some ignored completely, others gave excuses. "I have a boyfriend, I'm in a hurry, not interested." One even laughed in his face. "Look, buddy, you're not my type, okay? Find someone on your level," and walked away laughing with her friend. Jimmy felt the humiliation, real, even knowing it was a test, even knowing he had millions in the bank. It hurt. 7 women, Marcus counted. 7 rejections, 0 interest. Jimmy looked at the camera. "See? 7 women. None wanted to even talk. Now let's see what changes when I show what I have." They walked 2 blocks to the parking lot where Jimmy had left the car. An orange Lamborghini Huracan, gleaming, eye-catching, impossible to ignore. Jimmy leaned on the car, casually, took the key from his pocket, unlocked it. The lights flashed. The characteristic Lamborghini sound echoed, and everything changed. In less than 30 seconds, 2 women who were passing by stopped, looked at the car, looked at Jimmy, and approached. "Wow, what a beautiful car," one of them said, smiling. "Is it yours?" Jimmy smiled back. "Yeah. You like cars?" The conversation flowed easily. The woman suddenly had all the time in the world. She got closer, touched Jimmy's arm, laughed loudly at everything he said. "Do you live around here?" she asked with a mischievous smile. "I do." "Why?" She got even closer, almost touching him. "Oh, I don't know. We could go for a ride, get to know each other better." Her hand went down to Jimmy's chest. Her eyes said everything. It wasn't conversation. It was desire, explicit sexual interest. Jimmy let the mood rise, smiled, flirted back. "Really?" he said quietly. "And what else would you have in mind?" She bit her lip. "Oh, lots of things. You seem like an interesting guy. And this car? Imagine us inside it." Jimmy laughed, looked at the hidden camera Marcus was holding, and then cut it off. "Look, it was nice meeting you, but I gotta go." The change in her face was instant. "What? You don't want—" "No. But thanks." The woman stood there, confused, humiliated, not understanding. Marcus filmed her expression. Perfect. Jimmy repeated the test. Same thing. Leaned on the car. In minutes, another woman appeared. Redhead. Sculptural body. Tight clothes. "Oh, what a wonderful car," she said, approaching without even asking permission. "You must be very successful, right?" Jimmy smiled. "Who knows?" She leaned on the car, ran her hand over the hood, and looked at Jimmy with that look. "Take me for a ride? I promise it'll be worth it." The insinuations were getting more and more direct. She wasn't interested in getting to know Jimmy. She was interested in what he had. In the status. In the money. In the showing off. Jimmy let her continue. She got bolder. Touched his shoulder. Ran her hand down his arm. Whispered things in his ear. Explicit things. Direct proposals. Jimmy smiled. Flirted. Let the mood get hot. And when she was completely involved, he said, "You know, it was nice. But I'm not interested." "What?" she asked, shocked. "Not interested. Good luck." The humiliation on her face was epic. She turned red, stuttered, and walked away fast, embarrassed. Jimmy did this with 6 more women. All followed the same pattern. When he was without the car, dressed simple, none gave attention. When he leaned on the Lamborghini, all threw themselves at him. Literally. Some went further than others. One tried to kiss him, another practically rubbed against him. Another suggested going straight to a motel. The interest wasn't subtle, it was blatant, shameless. And Jimmy filmed everything, every approach, every insinuation, every proposal, and every rejection. Every time he cut the mood. Every expression of shock and humiliation. Marcus had everything recorded. Different angles, close-ups, reactions, everything. That night, Jimmy edited the video, put the best moments, the most brutal contrasts. Woman rejecting him poor. Same woman throwing herself when she saw the car. The humiliation when he refused. Posted with the title, "I tested gold diggers with a Lamborghini." The result disgusted me. The video exploded. 10 million views in 6 hours. 20 million in 12 hours. 50 million in 2 days. 100 million in a week. The comments were a war. Men. This is real. Finally someone shows the truth. They're all gold diggers. Women. Sexist. Misogynist. You provoked it. Of course they reacted different. Endless debates. People defending. People attacking. The video went viral everywhere. Headlines on websites. Discussions on Twitter. TikToks reacting. Everyone had an opinion. And Jimmy. He saw the views climbing, saw engagement exploding, and decided to do it again. And again. And again. It became a series. Every week a new video. Testing gold diggers. Always the same format. Jimmy poor being rejected. Jimmy rich being harassed. Jimmy humiliating at the end. The videos broke records. 100 million. 150 million. 200 million. Jimmy became the king of controversial content. But something started bothering him. It wasn't the negative comments. It wasn't the criticism. It was something else. He noticed he was becoming cynical, bitter. Started seeing all women as gold diggers, as opportunists, as fake. And this was changing him. Marcus noticed. "Dude, you're different." "How so?" "You're more, I don't know, colder, more suspicious." Jimmy laughed without humor. "And wouldn't you be? After seeing all this?" Marcus didn't respond, but Jimmy knew he was right. 3 months after starting the series, Jimmy decided to do something different. One last video. The final test. He was going to do the opposite. No car, no luxury, no showing off. Just him. Simple, humble, honest. And he'd see if any woman was interested in who he was, not what he had. Jimmy went to another neighborhood, further away, where nobody knew him. Wore the same simple clothes, old jeans, basic t-shirt, worn sneakers, and started approaching women. Again, the first 5 rejected, same as always. No interest, no time, no patience, until he saw her. Brown hair, medium height, pretty, but no exaggeration, simple but well-dressed clothes. She was sitting on a park bench, reading a book. "Excuse me?" Jimmy said, approaching. "Can I sit?" She looked at him, evaluated quickly, and shrugged. "It's a public bench. Go ahead." Jimmy sat. They were silent for a few seconds. "Good book?" He tried to make conversation. She looked at him again, more carefully now. "Are you trying to flirt or do you really want to know about the book?" Jimmy laughed. "Honestly?" "Both." She gave a half smile. "At least you're honest. It's science fiction. Probably not your thing." "And how do you know what's my thing?" "I don't know. Guess?" Jimmy smiled. "Your guess is wrong. I love science fiction." "Which one is it?" She showed the cover. "Dune." Jimmy's eyes widened. "Seriously? That's my favorite book." She laughed. "Sure it is. Now you're making it up." I'm not, I swear. The desert scene when he— Don't spoil it, she interrupted, laughing. I haven't gotten to that part yet. They talked, for real, about books, movies, music, life. Her name was Sarah, 26 years old, worked as an English teacher, lived alone, liked to read, to walk, simple things. Jimmy tested, as he always did. You know, my life isn't great right now, he said. I'm kind of lost, you know? Sarah looked at him. So? Everyone gets lost sometimes. It's part of life. No, like, financially too. I'm kind of broke. She shrugged. Who isn't? The whole country is broke. Jimmy waited for some change, some disinterest, some excuse to leave, but Sarah stayed there, talking, laughing, genuinely interested in what he was saying, not in what he had, because as far as she knew, he had nothing. They talked for 2 hours, sitting on that bench, without hurry, without pretension. When it started getting dark, Sarah looked at her watch. Wow, didn't see the time pass. I need to go. Jimmy felt something strange, didn't want her to leave. For the first time in months, he was genuinely enjoying talking to someone. Can I see you again? He asked. Sarah hesitated, looked at him, evaluating. Why? Because I enjoyed talking to you. She smiled. Okay, tomorrow same place, same time, deal. Sarah left. Jimmy stayed there sitting. Marcus came out from behind the tree where he was filming hidden. Dude, Marcus said. That one was different. Jimmy looked at him. Very different. In the following days, Jimmy and Sarah met several times, always on the same bench, talking, laughing, getting to know each other. Jimmy didn't show the car, didn't talk about money, didn't show off anything, was being himself, without masks, and Sarah seemed to like it, for real. She didn't ask where he lived, what car he had, how much he made, asked about dreams, fears, what made him happy, real things. For the first time, Jimmy found himself thinking about a woman outside the context of views and videos, thought about her during the day, anxiously awaited the meetings, smiled when he saw her messages. Marcus noticed. You like her. It's not a test anymore. Is it? Jimmy didn't deny. I don't know, man. She's different. Very different. Are you going to tell her? Tell her what? Everything. Who you are, the channel, the videos, the money. Jimmy was silent. Had to tell. Knew that, but was afraid. Afraid that when she knew, everything would change. As it always changed. 2 weeks after meeting, Jimmy invited Sarah to dinner. At a simple restaurant. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. During dinner, Sarah asked, You never talk about your work. What do you do? Jimmy took a deep breath. It was time. I work with the internet. What do you mean? I make videos. For YouTube. Sarah shrugged. Cool. About what? Social experiments, like testing people? Her face changed a bit. Testing how? Jimmy hesitated, but decided to be honest. I test gold diggers. The silence was heavy. How? Sarah asked slowly. I pretend to be poor, approach women, they reject me, then I show my car, a Lamborghini. They change completely, throw themselves at me, and I reject them back. Film everything. Sarah kept looking at him, without expression. You film women without them knowing? Yes. And humiliate them? I show the truth. The silence returned. Sarah put the napkin on the table, got up. And me? She asked. Is this a test too? Jimmy turned white. No. Sarah, no. With you it was different from the beginning. How will I know? How will I know if all this isn't just another experiment? Jimmy, did you film me? Was Marcus there hidden recording us? Tears started appearing in her eyes. Jimmy tried to hold her hand. Sarah, don't touch me. She pulled her hand. I need to go. Sarah left the restaurant. Jimmy sat there, alone, feeling an emptiness that no amount of money could fill. In the following days, Jimmy tried to talk to Sarah. Messages, calls, everything ignored. She blocked him on everything. Disappeared. Marcus tried to cheer up. Forget it, man. There are others. There aren't, Jimmy said. There aren't others like her. The video series continued. Jimmy kept filming, testing gold diggers, humiliating. But the taste had changed. It wasn't satisfying anymore. It was empty. The videos were successful, millions of views, but Jimmy felt worse with each one. A month later, Jimmy stopped making the videos. Announced to the channel he was going to change content. The fans were furious. "You're getting weak," became a simp, being controlled by women. But Jimmy didn't care. He needed to fix something that had broken inside him. He went to the school where Sarah taught, waited for her to leave. "Sarah, please, just listen to me." She stopped, looked at him with anger. "What do you want, Jimmy?" "To apologize." "For real?" She crossed her arms. "Talk." "I was an idiot. Those videos? They changed me, made me distrust everyone, made me cynical. And when I met you, for the first time in months I felt something real. And I ruined everything." "Why?" Sarah asked. "Because I'm a coward. Because I was so afraid you'd be like the others that I ended up treating you as if you were." Tears fell from Sarah's face. "You hurt me. I know. And I'm so sorry. So sorry." She was silent. "Did you really film me?" "I did. The first times. But then I asked Marcus to stop. Because it wasn't about content anymore. It was about you." Sarah wiped her tears. "I don't know if I can trust you. I understand. But I'm asking for a chance. One chance to show you that I changed. That you changed me." She hesitated. "One chance. Just one. If you mess up, it's over. I won't mess up, I promise." Sarah gave a half smile. "We'll see." Jimmy and Sarah started over. Slowly, carefully. Jimmy showed her who he really was. The house, the cars, the channel, everything. And Sarah met not the Jimmy from the videos, but the real Jimmy. Insecure, needy, hurt by the experiences, wanting to believe there was still good. She didn't change, stayed the same, simple, honest, real. Didn't want the cars, didn't want the jewelry, didn't want the money. Wanted him. Jimmy changed the channel completely. Stopped with the gold digger tests. Started making couple videos. Behind the scenes, reactions, real things. The audience split. Half stopped following, said he got weak. The other half loved it. Said he finally found something true. 6 months later, Jimmy and Sarah were officially dating. A year later, living together. 2 years later, Jimmy proposed. Not with pomp, not with viral video, just them two. On the same bench where they met. She said yes. On the wedding day, Jimmy made sure to make a video, the last one about the subject. He looked at the camera and said, "I spent years testing gold diggers, humiliating women, showing the worst of people. And it transformed me into the worst of myself. I started believing everyone was fake, that everyone only wanted money, until I met Sarah. And she showed me I was wrong." He looked at her, beautiful in the wedding dress, smiling. "Many women wanted my car, my money, my fame. But only one wanted to talk to me. Only one saw me as a person. Only one stayed when I had nothing to offer but myself. And that's the woman who today becomes my wife." The video ended. Jimmy posted it and turned off the phone. Because for the first time in years, he had something more important than views. He had something real. The years passed. Jimmy continued making videos. But different, lighter, more positive, helping people, making a difference. Sarah continued teaching. Never wanted to quit, even though she could, because she liked it, because it was hers. They had 2 kids, built a family. Jimmy sometimes looked back at the old videos and felt shame of what he had done, of how he had treated people, but also felt grateful because that path, crooked and wrong as it was, had led him to Sarah, and she had saved him from losing himself completely. On a Sunday afternoon, 5 years after the wedding, Jimmy and Sarah were on the couch, the kids sleeping, watching TV. "Do you regret it?" Sarah asked out of nowhere. "What?" "Stopping those videos. They got way more views." Jimmy pulled her close. "Views don't warm the bed. Don't make coffee in the morning. Don't laugh at my bad jokes." She laughed. "Your jokes are terrible." "Exactly. And you still laugh. That's true love." Sarah rested her head on his shoulder. "You changed a lot, you know. For the better?" "Much better." They stayed there, in silence. Comfortable? Real. And Jimmy realized he had found something no viral video could give. Peace. 7 years after meeting, Jimmy decided to make one last video about the subject. A video closing the cycle. He went back to the same park, to the same bench, with Sarah by his side, and told the complete story. From the beginning, the tests, the humiliations, the cynicism, the emptiness, and the meeting that changed everything. "I was a lost guy," he said, looking at the camera. "Rich, but lost. Famous, but alone. Full of views, but empty inside. And then I met someone who didn't want any of that, who just wanted to know who I really was." He looked at Sarah. "And that person saved me. Showed me there are things more important than proving points. That humiliating gold diggers didn't make me a better person, made me worse." The video exploded, not for the same reasons as before, but because people saw something rare, real change, growth, someone admitting they were wrong and fixing it. The comments were different. "What evolution, man. Congratulations. That's a real man. Admits mistakes and changes. Beautiful story." Got emotional. Jimmy read the comments, and for the first time in years, felt good about what he posted. Not for the number of views, but for the message. Today, 10 years after everything started, Jimmy has 45 million subscribers, less than at the peak. But he doesn't care. Makes videos about family, about growth, about mistakes and hits. And the people who stayed are the ones who really matter. Sarah continues teaching. The kids are grown. Life is good, simple, real. And Jimmy learned the most important lesson, that testing people only shows who you are, not who they are. That humiliating isn't justice. It's cowardice. And that true love doesn't appear when you show the car. Appears when you show who you are. Without filters, without masks, without tests. Just you. And if the person stays, it's because they want you, not what you have. On any morning Jimmy woke up early, Sarah still sleeping. He went to the kitchen, made coffee, and looked out the window. The Lamborghini was still in the garage, gleaming, untouched. He hadn't driven it in years. Didn't need to prove anything anymore. Didn't need to test anyone, because he had found the only thing that couldn't be tested. True love. Sarah came down the stairs, still in pajamas, hair messy, no makeup. Beautiful in the way only those who truly love can see. "Good morning," she said, yawning. "Good morning, love. Did you make coffee?" "Just made it." Jimmy poured a cup for her. They sat at the table, in comfortable silence. "You know," Sarah said after a while, "I never thanked you." "For what? For finding me on that bench?" Jimmy smiled. "I thank you. For staying, even when you found out who I was, especially when you found out who I was." She held his hand. "You're not that person anymore. I know, thanks to you." They stayed there, holding hands, drinking coffee. And Jimmy thought about how strange life was. He had made dozens of videos testing women, had exposed gold diggers, had proven his point 1,000 times. But in the end, the only thing that mattered was the day he stopped testing and started trusting. The only day he was himself. Without car, without money, without anything. Just Jimmy. And the only woman who wanted to meet that Jimmy was the only one truly worth it. The kids came running down, wanting breakfast. The house filled with noise, with life, with love. And Jimmy looked around, at the family he had built, and knew he had made the right choice. Give up the views, and choose life. Real. Imperfect. But true. And no viral video in the world was worth more than that. But let's go back to the beginning of this story. To the day that changed everything. Jimmy had woken up that Thursday with a fixed idea in his head. He was going to make the most controversial video on the channel. The video everyone would talk about. The video that would prove once and for all what he already knew, that most women only cared about money. He had seen this his whole life. Since he got rich. Since he started showing off. Women who didn't even look at him before started appearing. Messages in the DM. Flirtations. Insinuations. And Jimmy always knew. It wasn't him they wanted. It was what he had. That's why he created this test. To show the world. To expose the hypocrisy. To reveal the truth everyone pretended not to see. On that Thursday morning, Jimmy and Marcus met early. "We're going to make history today, bro," Jimmy said, excited. Marcus didn't seem as thrilled. "Dude, you sure about this? Won't it be too heavy?" "Heavy is the point. Has to shock. Has to bother. Otherwise nobody cares." "But what about the girls? Don't you think it's messed up to expose them like this? Jimmy laughed. They're the ones who are messed up. I'm just going to show who they really are. Marcus sighed, but didn't insist. Knew Jimmy long enough to know when he decided something, there was no turning back. They took Marcus's car. A regular Honda Civic, nothing flashy, went downtown. Parked far from Jimmy's Lamborghini that was already strategically positioned. Jimmy put on the simple clothes he had separated, looked in the mirror, seemed satisfied with the result. Perfect. Nobody will recognize me like this. They went to Sunset Boulevard. Busy, full of beautiful people, perfect for the test. The first woman Jimmy approached was around 10 in the morning. She was blonde, must have been about 25, expensive gym clothes, worked body, was on her phone while walking. Jimmy approached. "Excuse me, can I talk to you?" She raised her eyes from the phone, looked at him, and her expression changed immediately, from neutral to suspicious. "What for? Just wanted to meet you. Talk a bit." She went back to her phone. "I have a boyfriend," without even looking at him again, and kept walking. Jimmy stood there, feeling the first sting of rejection. Marcus filmed everything from afar. Zoom on Jimmy's face, on the woman's expression, on the humiliation. "Next one," Marcus said in his earpiece. Jimmy tried again. This time a brunette. Pretty. Well-dressed. She was waiting for someone in front of a commercial building. "Hi," Jimmy said with a smile. "How are you?" She looked at him, without smiling back. "Fine. Do you work here?" "Why?" "Just curious. You're very beautiful." She made a bored face. "Look, I'm not interested in conversation. I'm waiting for someone. Excuse me." And turned her back to him, literally. Jimmy felt the blood rise. Not anger at the woman, but anger at the situation, at how easy it was to be invisible when you had nothing to offer. He continued. Tried with 5 more women in the next 30 minutes, all rejected, each in a different way. One pretended she was in a hurry. Another said she didn't talk to strangers. Another looked at him up and down and simply shook her head. No, and kept going. The worst was the last one of this batch. A tall blonde. Expensive clothes. Air of superiority. Jimmy approached her. "Hi, can I ask you a question?" She stopped, looked at him, and gave a little laugh. "Depends on the question. Would you go out with me? Get coffee? Get to know each other better?" Her laugh got louder. "Seriously? You're serious?" Jimmy kept a straight face. "I am. Why?" She looked at his clothes, at the old shoes, up and down. "Honey, I don't go out with just anyone. Find someone on your level." And she left, laughing, loud, for everyone to hear. Jimmy stood there, face hot, with anger, with shame, even knowing it was a test, even knowing it was on purpose. It hurt. Marcus approached. "Dude, you okay?" "I am. Let's go to the car." They walked the 2 blocks to the parking lot. The Lamborghini was there, vibrant orange, gleaming in the morning sun, impossible not to see. Jimmy leaned on the car, took out the key, unlocked. The Lamborghini unlocking sound echoed, the lights flashed, and it was like turning on a beacon. In less than a minute, a woman who was passing stopped, looked at the car, looked at Jimmy, and completely changed her posture. "Wow, what a beautiful car," she said, approaching. "Is it a Lamborghini?" Jimmy smiled. "Yeah. You like it?" She got closer, touched the car. "Who doesn't, right? You must be very successful." Jimmy shrugged. "Who knows?" She laughed, touched his arm. "Modest, too. I love it. Do you live around here?" The transformation was instant. The same woman who would probably ignore Jimmy on the street was now clearly interested. And it wasn't subtle interest. "I do," Jimmy responded. "Why?" She got closer, almost touching him. "Oh, I don't know. Thought we could get to know each other better. Chat. Maybe go somewhere more. Private." Her hand went from his arm to his chest. Her eyes didn't hide anything. It was desire, sexual interest, direct. Jimmy let the mood roll, flirted back. "Private like where?" She bit her lip. "You have a car like this. I imagine you have a nice place for us to go." Jimmy smiled. Let her continue. She got bolder, got closer, whispered in his ear. "Can I see inside?" "The car?" She laughed. "The car, too." Jimmy looked at the camera Marcus was holding, gave a smile, and then cut it off. Look, it was nice meeting you, but I gotta go. The change in her face was comic. What? We were talking so well. Jimmy opened the car door. We were, but I need to go. Good luck. And got in, leaving her there, standing, confused, not understanding what happened. Marcus filmed her expression. Zoom, close up, perfect for editing. Jimmy drove off, went around the block, and came back to the same spot. 10 minutes later, leaned again, and waited. Didn't take long. Another woman appeared. Redhead, model body, tight clothes showing curves. She wasn't subtle, came straight at him. Oh, what a wonderful car, she said, running her hand on the hood. Are you the owner? Jimmy was leaning on the driver's door, arms crossed, smiling. I am. Why? She approached, put her hand on his chest. Because I love successful men. You seem very successful. Jimmy let her hand stay there, flirted. And what would you like to do with a successful man? She smiled mischievously. Lots of things. The conversation got more and more explicit. She had no filter, talked openly about what she wanted to do, about where they could go, about what would happen. Jimmy fed it, flirted, made the mood rise. She was already practically glued to him, her hand going down, her lips close to his. And then Jimmy said, "You know what's funny?" "What?" she asked with a sultry voice. "5 minutes ago you wouldn't even look at me." She laughed. Thought it was a joke. "But you have this car. That changes everything." "Exactly." Jimmy pulled away. "And that's why I don't want anything with you. I don't understand. You're only interested in the car, in the money, in the status, not in me." Her face changed, turned red. "Hey, it's not like that." Jimmy opened the car door. "It's exactly like that, and I don't want it." Bye. Got in, closed the door, and drove off, leaving her there, humiliated. He did this 8 more times that day, always the same pattern. Woman ignored him without the car. Woman threw herself with the car. Jimmy refused and humiliated, each time more elaborate, each time more cruel. And Marcus filmed everything, every detail, every angle, every expression of shock and shame. That night Jimmy edited, put dramatic music, quick cuts, contrast between rejection and acceptance, between contempt and desire. The video was 20 minutes, 20 minutes of pure controversy. Jimmy posted at 9 p.m. with the bombastic title. The thumbnail showing him leaning on the Lamborghini with women around. In 1 hour had 1 million views. In 3 hours, 5 million. In 6 hours, 10 million. The video was exploding. Comments came in thousands per minute. Men, this guy is the shit. Finally someone shows the real. They're all gold diggers. Total respect. Women, how disgusting. This is sexism. You provoked the situation. Of course they reacted different. You're trash. And the more controversy, the more the video grew. YouTube started recommending. TikTok started making reacts. Twitter started discussing. Instagram full of screenshots. The video became a phenomenon. In 24 hours had 20 million views. In 48, 40 million. In 1 week, 100 million. Jimmy became trending topic. Headlines on portals. YouTuber exposes gold diggers and generates controversy. Video about testing women divides opinion. Social experiment or sexism. And Jimmy, he loved it. Every view, every comment, every article. It was exactly what he wanted. Attention, relevance, proof he was right. He decided to make it a series. Every Saturday a new video, always the same format, always testing, always exposing, always humiliating. And the audience loved it. The videos broke records. 120 million, 150 million, 200 million. Jimmy gained millions of new followers, became the biggest social experiment channel in America. Brands wanted to sponsor. TV shows wanted to interview. He was at the peak. But Marcus noticed changes. Jimmy was different, more bitter, more suspicious, more cynical. Started treating all women as enemies, as potential gold diggers, even those who weren't. One day Marcus tried to talk. "Dude, don't you think you're exaggerating?" "How so?" "These videos. Aren't you getting too, I don't know, bitter?" Jimmy laughed. "I'm being realistic. I'm showing the truth." "And what's the truth? That all women are gold diggers?" "Not all, but most." The videos prove it. Marcus sighed. The videos prove that when you act a specific way, in specific situations, some women react a specific way. Doesn't prove anything beyond that. Jimmy got irritated. You becoming a white knight now? Defending them? I'm not defending anyone. Just think you're letting this change you, and not for the better. Jimmy didn't respond, but the phrase stayed in his head. For days, weeks, and he noticed Marcus was right. He was different. Looked at every woman with suspicion. Couldn't relate for real anymore. Had some involvements in recent months, but all superficial, because he didn't trust. Always thought it was interest. Always tested, and always found what he was looking for. Because when you look for flaws, you always find them. 3 months after starting the series, Jimmy was tired. Not of the views, not of the success, but of himself. Of who he had become. Decided to make one last video, the final test. It would be different. This time he'd try for real, without car, without showing off, without anything. Just him. And he'd see if any woman would be interested in who he was, not what he had. It was a Saturday. Jimmy took an Uber to Santa Monica, a different neighborhood, where he didn't usually go, where nobody would recognize him. Wore simple clothes, jeans, plain white t-shirt, regular sneakers, no brand, nothing flashy. Marcus was along, but more discreet, filming from very far, almost imperceptible. Jimmy walked the streets, looking, searching, tried to approach some women, same rejection as always, until he arrived at a small park, small, tree-lined, benches scattered. And he saw her, sitting on a bench, reading. Brown hair falling on her face, reading glasses, simple but neat clothes, completely focused on the book. Jimmy stood watching for a moment. She seemed different, not in the physical sense. She was pretty, but in the sense of energy. She seemed at peace, focused, oblivious to the world around. He approached, slowly. "Excuse me, can I sit?" She raised her eyes from the book, looked at him, evaluated quickly, shrugged. "It's a public bench." Jimmy sat, left a respectful space between them, was silent, not knowing how to start. "Good book?" he tried. She took her eyes off the book again, this time looked more carefully. "Are you really interested or just trying to flirt?" Jimmy laughed. "Honestly, both." She gave a half smile. "At least you're honest." "Yes, it's a good book." "What is it?" She showed the cover. "Dune." Jimmy's eyes widened. "For real?" "Seriously? That's my favorite book." She laughed, like disbelief. "Sure it is, I swear. The desert part when Paul—" "Don't spoil it." She raised her hand. "Haven't gotten there yet." Jimmy laughed. "Sorry." They started talking. And it was easy, natural. Her name was Sarah, 26 years old, English teacher, lived alone in a small apartment nearby, liked to read, to walk, coffee, simple things. Jimmy talked about himself, but without mentioning the fame, the money, said he worked with internet, which was true, said he lived in Los Angeles, true, said he liked science fiction, true, all true, just omitting the parts that normally drew attention. They talked for over an hour, about everything, books, movies, life, dreams. Sarah was intelligent, funny, sarcastic, direct, had no filter but wasn't rude, was real. When she looked at her watch and said she needed to go, Jimmy felt genuine disappointment. "Can I see you again?" he asked. Sarah looked at him, evaluating. "Why?" "Because I enjoyed talking to you." She smiled. "Okay, tomorrow. Same place. 2 p.m.? Deal." She left. Jimmy stayed there, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Marcus approached when Sarah disappeared. "Dude," he said, "that one is different." Jimmy looked at him. "Very different. You're liking her for real." "I am." "And now?" "Now I don't know." In the following days, Jimmy and Sarah met every day. Always on the park bench, always talking for hours. Jimmy didn't show anything he had. Didn't talk about the channel, the success, the money. Was just Jimmy, and Sarah seemed to like it. She didn't ask material things, didn't want to know where he lived, what car he had, how much he made. Asked about him, about what made him happy, what scared him, what he dreamed. Real things. Deep. And Jimmy opened up, in a way he hadn't in years. Talked about childhood, about fears, about the loneliness he felt even surrounded by people. And Sarah listened. For real. Without judging, without trying to fix. Just listening. For the first time in a long time, Jimmy felt seen. Not as YouTuber, not as rich, as a person. And it was scary. And liberating. 2 weeks after meeting, Sarah asked, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why do you never talk about your work?" Jimmy got tense. "It's complicated. Internet work is kind of abstract." She laughed. "I understand abstract. I'm an English teacher. I've tried to explain present perfect continuous to teenagers." Jimmy smiled, but knew he had to tell. At some point would have to tell. And the more time passed, the harder it got. Because the more he liked her, and the more afraid he was of losing her. That night, Jimmy invited Sarah to dinner. At a small restaurant. Italian. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. During dinner, between pasta and laughs, Sarah returned to the subject. "Seriously, tell me, what do you do?" Jimmy took a deep breath. Time had come. "I make videos for YouTube." She shrugged. "Cool. About what?" "Social experiments." "What's that?" Jimmy hesitated. Knew the next step would change everything. "I test people, show how they react in different situations." Sarah seemed genuinely interested. "What kind of situations?" And Jimmy told. About the videos, about testing gold diggers, about pretending to be poor, about showing the car, about women changing, about filming everything, about rejecting and humiliating. Told everything, and saw Sarah's face changing, from interest to confusion. From confusion to disappointment, from disappointment to hurt. When he finished, the silence was heavy. "You film women without them knowing?" Sarah asked quietly. "Yes. And humiliate them after. Publicly." Jimmy tried to justify. "I show the truth. Show how they're gold diggers. How they change when they see money." Sarah put her fork on the table. Slowly. "You create a specific situation, act a certain way to provoke a reaction, film without consent, and then expose and humiliate. And call that showing the truth? But they really are gold diggers." "Sarah, are they really? Or did you create a situation where they had no way not to seem like gold diggers?" The silence returned. "And me?" Sarah asked with a shaky voice. "Is this a test too?" "No," Jimmy said fast. "With you it's different. From the beginning. How will I know? How will I know if all this isn't just another experiment of yours? Jimmy, did you film me? Is Marcus somewhere now recording us?" The tears started falling. Jimmy tried to take her hand. "Sarah, no." She pulled her hand. Got up. "I need to go." And left. Leaving Jimmy there. Alone. With an emptiness in his chest that no million views would fill. In the following days, Jimmy tried to talk to Sarah. Sent messages. Many messages. "Sarah, please. Let me explain. It was different with you. From the first day. I swear. All ignored. Called. Several times. All calls declined. Went to the school where she taught. Waited for her to leave. She saw him from afar. Turned the other way. And left." Jimmy stood there, watching her walk away, feeling something he had never felt before. Real regret. Marcus tried to cheer up. "Dude, forget it. Others will appear." "They won't," Jimmy said. "Others like her won't appear." "Why?" "Because all the others want something from me. She just wanted to know me. And I ruined everything." But the videos continued. Jimmy had to maintain the channel, had commitments, had sponsors, had expectations. So he kept doing it. Every week, testing gold diggers, filming, editing, posting, and getting more and more successful. But the taste had changed. Before he felt satisfaction, now felt emptiness. Before he thought it was funny, now thought it was sad. Before he felt superior, now felt small. A month after Sarah left, Jimmy was editing another video. Same formula, same results. But while editing, he stopped, looked at the screen, saw the woman being humiliated, saw her expression of confusion, of shame, and for the first time really saw. Didn't see gold digger, saw person he had used, manipulated, exposed, humiliated, all for views. He closed the editing program, opened the channel, looked at old videos, millions of views, millions of comments, absolute success, and felt sick. Called Marcus. Dude, I need to stop. Stop what? These videos. Can't do it anymore. Marcus was silent for a moment. Been waiting for you to say that for a while. Next day, Jimmy posted a video. Sitting. Alone. No elaborate editing. No music. Just him talking. I spent the last months making a series of videos, testing women, exposing gold diggers, and you loved it. The videos broke records, gained millions of followers. Total success. But I need to say something. I was wrong. He paused, breathed deep. I created specific situations to provoke specific reactions. Manipulated. Filmed without consent. Humiliated. All to prove a point. That women are gold diggers. But in the process, I became the worst version of myself. Cynical. Bitter. Unable to trust. And when I finally met someone real, someone who wanted nothing but to know me, I ruined everything. Because I had spent so much time looking for flaws, I couldn't see qualities anymore. The comments started appearing. Thousands, per minute. You're getting weak. Became a simp. Lost to feminism. Jimmy continued. I'm not making these videos anymore. Going to change the channel content. And I know many will stop following. That's okay, because I'd rather have fewer followers and more peace than millions of views and emptiness inside. The video ended. Jimmy posted. And waited. The reaction was immediate. Half the comments cursing. Half supporting. Half the followers leaving. Half staying. And Jimmy didn't care. For the first time in months, slept well. 2 weeks later, Jimmy was home. It was Saturday afternoon. He was trying to record a new video. Different. Helping people. Making a difference. But couldn't focus. Kept thinking about Sarah. Wondering if she had seen his video. Wondering if she understood. Wondering if there was any chance. Someone knocked on the door. Jimmy went to answer. Without expectation. Opened the door. And froze. It was Sarah. Standing there, looking at him. Hi, she said. Hi, Jimmy managed to say. Can I come in? Of course. Sarah entered, looked around. It was the first time she saw where Jimmy lived. The big house, expensive furniture, technology everywhere, clear signs of money. Nice house, she said without emotion. Thanks. They stood there, not knowing what to say. Sarah broke the silence. I saw your video. Jimmy felt his heart race. And I came here to hear you. For real this time. Jimmy indicated the couch. They sat. And Jimmy talked. Told everything, from the beginning. Why he started the videos. The anger he felt. The need to prove something. How he got addicted to validation, to views, to success. And how he got lost in the process. When I met you, he said, for the first time in a long time, I felt something real. And it scared me. Because everything I had done told me you'd change when you knew who I was, that you'd be interested in the money, the fame, like all the others. And me? Did I change? Sarah asked. You left. Because you hurt me, Jimmy. You spent months humiliating women, exposing them. And when you told me, all I could think was, am I just another experiment too? You're different from everyone, Sarah. Very different. How can I know? Jimmy got up, went to the computer, came back with the laptop, opened the folder of unpublished videos. You remember the first day we met? Sarah nodded. Marcus was filming, Jimmy admitted. I had asked him to film, in case it turned into something. To have content. Sarah turned pale. Jimmy quickly continued. But at the end of the first day, I asked him to delete everything. Look. He showed the screen, messages between him and Marcus. Jimmy, delete today's videos. Marcus, you sure? They came out good. Jimmy, delete. This isn't content, it's real. And after that, never filmed you again, never. Because from the first day you were different. And I knew. Sarah had tears in her eyes, but was still angry. That doesn't change what you did, Jimmy. With the other women. You used them, humiliated them. I know. Jimmy said, and I hate myself for it. I really hate myself. They were silent. Sarah wiped her tears. Why did you make that video? Today's? Because you showed me who I had become, and I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. And I needed to change. Even if it meant losing everything. Sarah looked at him. You're going to lose a lot. Half the channel already left. I know. And that's okay. Because what I gained making those videos was worth nothing. It was empty. And what I lost making them. She paused. What did you lose? The ability to trust, to love, to be truly happy. Jimmy nodded. Exactly. Sarah sighed, was silent for a long moment, then said, I don't know if I can trust you, Jimmy. I understand. But I also don't know if I can just forget you. Jimmy felt hope. What does that mean? Means that maybe, just maybe, we can try again. Slowly, carefully. No lies, no cameras, no games. None of that, Jimmy promised. Just me and you. Sarah gave a small smile. We'll see. They started over, from scratch, dated like teenagers. Simple dates, movies, park, coffee, long conversations. Jimmy introduced Sarah to his world, slowly. The house, the cars, the channel. Sarah didn't change, stayed the same, didn't want the cars, didn't care about the house, wasn't impressed by views, wanted him. Jimmy changed the channel completely, stopped doing heavy social experiments, started making videos helping people, good surprises, changing lives, without humiliation, without manipulation. The channel grew again, different, healthier, and Jimmy was happy, for real. 6 months later, they were officially dating. A year later, living together. Sarah kept her job, even though Jimmy said she didn't need to. I like to work, she said. I like teaching. That's mine. Jimmy respected it. 2 years later, he proposed, on the same bench where they met. No pomp, no camera, just them two. She said yes. The wedding was small. Family and close friends. No showing off, no show, just love. On the wedding night, Jimmy made one last video about the subject. Looked at the camera and said, Years ago, I started making videos testing women, proving they were gold diggers. I was right about some, but wrong about everything. Because I created the situations, I manipulated, I provoked, and in the process became bitter, empty, until I met someone who showed me what I had lost. The ability to trust, to love, to be real. He looked at Sarah. Beautiful in her wedding dress. Many women wanted my car, my money, but only one wanted to know my heart. And that's the woman who today became my wife. The video had millions of views, but Jimmy didn't even care, because for the first time had something more important. The years passed. Jimmy continued the channel, helping, inspiring, making a difference. Sarah continued teaching. They had kids, built a family. And every time Jimmy saw an old video, felt shame of what he had been, of what he had done, but also gratitude, because that crooked path had led to Sarah, and she had saved him. 10 years later, Jimmy had 40 million followers, less than at peak, but didn't matter, did what he loved, with who he loved, and was happy. Sarah sometimes asked, Do you regret stopping those videos? They got way more views. Jimmy pulled her close. Views don't make breakfast, don't laugh at my jokes, don't truly love me. She smiled. Your jokes are terrible. Exactly. And you still laugh. They stayed like that, hugging. And Jimmy thought about everything he learned, that testing people only shows who you are, that humiliating isn't justice, that views don't bring happiness, and that true love appears when you stop pretending. On any morning years later, Jimmy woke up early, Sarah sleeping beside him, kids in their rooms, house in peace. He went to the garage. The Lamborghini was still there, untouched, unused for years. He looked at the car and remembered everything. The women, the tests, the humiliations, the emptiness, and then looked at the house, at the family, at the life he built, and knew he made the right choice. Give up performance and choose reality. Sarah came down in pajamas, messy hair, no makeup, beautiful in her way. Good morning, she yawned. What are you thinking about? Jimmy smiled. About how life is strange. How so? I spent years testing women, proving points, humiliating. And in the end, the only thing that mattered was the day I stopped testing. She hugged him from behind and started being real. Exactly. The kids came running down, noise, life, love. And Jimmy looked around, at everything he had, at everything he was, and was grateful, because he learned the most important lesson. That you can have the most expensive car, the most beautiful house, millions of followers. But if you don't have someone who loves you for who you are, not what you have nothing. And when you find that someone, you hold on. With everything. Because that is real. And nothing in the world is worth more than that. Jimmy took Sarah by the hand. "Let's have breakfast?" She smiled. "Let's." And they went. Holding hands. Family united. Simple life. But true. The Lamborghini stayed in the garage. Unused. Unnecessary. Because Jimmy had found something no car could give. Purpose. And years later, when someone asked about the old videos, Jimmy was honest. They were the worst videos I ever made. Why? Because they showed the worst version of me. And people didn't agree? Some did. Thought it was brave. But courage isn't exposing others. It's exposing yourself. Admitting mistakes. Changing. And did you change? I changed. Thanks to one person who saw me when I was worth nothing. And stayed. And that person is what matters. Not the millions who follow me, but the one who loves me. Jimmy learned that viral content passes. Fame is temporary. Views are numbers. But love, real love, lasts. And is worth infinitely more than any metric. Today he makes different videos. Helping, inspiring, being real, and sleeps in peace. Because knows he owes nothing to anyone. Didn't use, didn't manipulate, didn't humiliate, just lived, loved, and was loved. And this is the complete story of how a millionaire YouTuber tested gold diggers until one crossed the line. Not his line, but hers. Of what she was willing to accept. And by refusing him at that restaurant, Sarah forced Jimmy to look in the mirror and see the monster he had become. And that refusal, that rejection, was the best gift she could have given. Because it saved him. From himself. From continuing on that path. From losing himself completely. And when he changed, when he really changed, she came back. Not for the money, not for the fame, but for the man he had become. The man she had helped create. And they lived. Not happily ever after. Because real life has problems, fights, challenges. But they lived truthfully, honestly, real. And in the end, that's all that matters. Being real. With someone who loves you, being real too. Without masks, without tests, without games. Just love. And Jimmy looked at Sarah every day, even after years, and was grateful. Because she had done something nobody else did. Had seen through the facade, through the money, through the fame. And had seen him, the real Jimmy, insecure, hurt, lost, and had loved anyway. And that love had saved him, had transformed him, had made him a better man, better husband, better father, better person. And for that, for all that, Jimmy knew one thing with absolute certainty. That everything he went through, all the bad videos, all the humiliations he caused, all the hate he spread, was worth it. Not because he was right, but because he was wrong. And realizing that, admitting that, changing because of that, led him to Sarah. And Sarah was worth more than everything. More than views, more than fame, more than money, more than anything. Because Sarah was real. And real in the end is all that matters. And if you made it this far in this story, let me tell you the rest, what happened after. Because the story didn't end at the wedding, didn't end at the happy ending. Life continued, and had more twists. Jimmy and Sarah lived incredible years together, built not just a marriage, but a partnership. Sarah started appearing in videos, not as a character, but as herself. Teacher, wife, real person. And people loved it, loved the authenticity, the simplicity, the genuine love between them. The channel grew organically. Not explosive like before, but constant, solid, real followers, real engagement, real impact. Jimmy used the platform for good causes, helped families, renovated schools, paid for surgeries, but always with respect, always with consent, always with dignity. And with each new video, he distanced himself more from what he had been, from the YouTuber who tested and humiliated, and got closer to who he wanted to be, someone who made a difference. 5 years after the wedding, on a Sunday afternoon, Jimmy and Sarah were in the kitchen, he making coffee, she preparing pancakes, kids still sleeping. "You know what I realized?" Sarah said, stirring the batter. "What? You never talk about those old videos anymore. the testing women ones. Jimmy stopped stirring the coffee. That's true. Why? Shame, he admitted. A lot of shame. Sarah approached, held his face. You shouldn't be ashamed. Why not? Because those videos, as bad as they were, brought you here. To me. Jimmy hugged her. I know, but I still regret the harm I caused. Sarah rested her head on his chest. Then do something about it. Like what? Apologize. For real. Publicly. Jimmy thought about it all day, and on Monday, decided, was going to make a video, a different video, for real this time. Sat in front of the camera, alone, no editing, no script, and talked. My name is Jimmy, and some years ago I made a series of videos testing women, exposing gold diggers, humiliating people, and those videos were hugely successful. Millions of views, millions of followers. And I felt justified. Felt I was showing the truth. But I was wrong. Very wrong. He paused, breathed, continued. I wasn't showing truth. I was creating narrative, manipulating situations, using people, and hurting in the process. And today I want to apologize. For real. To all the women I exposed, humiliated, used as content. You didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves it. And I'm sorry. Very sorry. I was young, immature, hurt, and turned my pain into a weapon, used it against innocent people. And that was wrong. No justification, no excuse. It was simply wrong. And I take full responsibility. The comments came in thousands, some applauding the courage, others saying it was too late, others still cursing. But Jimmy read all and responded to several, accepted criticism, thanked support, and moved forward. Because had done what he could, asked for forgiveness, admitted mistake. The rest he didn't control. 3 months later, Jimmy received a message from one of the women from the old videos. The first, the blonde who had rejected him when dressed simple and had thrown herself when she saw the car. The message said, "Hi Jimmy, you probably don't remember me, but I was in your first gold digger test video, that one from years ago. And I wanted to talk to you." Jimmy was apprehensive, but responded, "I remember, and I remember what I did. I'm sorry, very sorry." Her response took a few minutes. When I saw that video the first time, I was devastated, humiliated. My friends saw it. My family saw it. Was judged by millions of people who didn't know me. It was horrible. Jimmy felt his stomach turn. I have no words. It was cruel. Inhuman. I'm sorry. Another pause. But you know what was worse? What? Was that deep down I knew you were right. I really only got interested when I saw the car. And that made me look at myself, at my priorities, at what I valued. And I didn't like what I saw. Jimmy didn't expect that. And did you change? I changed. Did therapy. Worked on myself. Understood where that need for external validation came from. To want to be with someone rich to feel valuable. And changed. Today I'm with someone. He doesn't have money, doesn't have an imported car, but he loves me for real. And I love him. And I'm happy. For real. Jimmy had tears in his eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you accept my forgiveness. Your what? My forgiveness. For years I hated you, blamed you for everything. But watching your last video, I realized you were also hurt, also lost. And what you did was wrong but didn't define you. Just like that moment didn't define me. So I forgive you. And I hope you forgive me too, for being exactly what you said I was. Jimmy cried. For real. Typed with shaking hands. I forgive you. And thank you. You didn't need to do this. But you did. And that means more than you imagine. They talked a bit more and said goodbye. Two strangers who hurt each other, and forgave, and moved forward. When Jimmy told Sarah, she cried too. That's real healing, she said. It's not just apologizing, it's allowing forgiveness, for yourself and others. Jimmy agreed, and for the first time in years felt complete peace. With the past, with the present, with everything. The years kept passing. Jimmy was now 40, Sarah 38, kids teenagers, life cruising along, channel stable, family happy, everything good. Until one day, Jimmy received an invitation to speak at a university about digital media, ethics, responsibility. He accepted. On the day of the talk, the auditorium was packed. Hundreds of young people, future content creators, Jimmy went up on stage and started telling his story, all of it, without omitting anything, the bad videos, the humiliations, the empty success, the fall, the redemption. When he finished, opened for questions. Dozens of hands raised, chose one, a guy about 20 years old. "Do you regret making those videos?" Jimmy thought before answering. "Yes and no. I regret the harm I caused, the people I hurt, that I'll always regret. But I don't regret the learning, because it made me who I am today." "And who are you today?" another person asked. "Someone who understands that views don't matter if you lose your humanity in the process, that success without ethics is failure, and that the most important content you can create is the life you live. More questions, more answers, honest, direct, real." At the end, a girl raised her hand. "What advice would you give to someone starting now?" Jimmy smiled. "Don't do what I did. Don't use people. Don't manipulate. Don't sacrifice your humanity for views. Because in the end, when you turn off the camera, you'll have to live with who you became. And if that person disgusts you, no number of followers will fix it." Applause. Long. Jimmy left there feeling he made a difference. Real this time. That night at home, Sarah asked how it went. "Good," Jimmy said. "Very good. I think I finally managed to transform all that shit into something useful." She smiled. "Proud. I knew you could." They stayed hugging on the couch, watching TV, in peace. And Jimmy thought about everything. The crooked path, the mistakes, the corrections, the growth. And realized something. That the story wasn't about testing gold diggers. Never was. It was about testing himself, and failing, and trying again, and growing, and becoming better. Sarah was just the catalyst, the person who appeared at the right moment, and said no. No to the Jimmy from the videos. No to the performative Jimmy. No to the Jimmy who used people. And yes to the real Jimmy, when he finally had courage to be. Today, 15 years after that first video, Jimmy has a life he never imagined. Not for the numbers, but for the quality, for the meaning, for the purpose, makes videos that matter, helps those in need, creates with conscience, and sleeps well. Because knows he owes nothing to anyone. The Lamborghini was sold years ago, traded for a family car. Comfortable, safe. No showing off, because Jimmy doesn't need to prove anything anymore. To anyone, not even to himself. And when someone discovers the old videos, those that still exist on the internet, Jimmy doesn't deny, doesn't hide, doesn't delete, leaves as reminder of what he was, of what he doesn't want to be anymore, and how much it's possible to change when you really want to. Sarah continues teaching because she loves it. Kids growing up, questioning, critical, good, family united, imperfect but real. And every morning when Jimmy wakes up and sees Sarah beside him, still wonders how he got so lucky. To have found someone who loved him when he didn't deserve it, who stayed when he changed, who built with him something real, and is grateful. Every day, for that day in the park, when he tried one more time, and found not a gold digger, but a person who saw through everything, and chose to stay. Not for the car, not for the money, but for him. And that choice saved him, from losing himself forever, from becoming just another empty creator, full of numbers but empty of meaning. Sarah saved him, and he saved her too, from a common life, from never knowing someone who challenged her, who grew with her, who truly loved her. They saved each other mutually, and built something beautiful, real, lasting. And this is the complete story of the YouTuber who tested gold diggers, until one crossed the line of decency, and said no, and by saying no, showed the way. To the right yes, to real love, to true life. But let me tell you the real ending. What happened after everything? 20 years later. Jimmy was 48 years old, Sarah 46, kids already adults, living alone, following their own paths. Jimmy and Sarah were alone again, like in the beginning, just different, older, wiser, more scarred, but together. The channel continued. Smaller, more niched, but impactful. Jimmy no longer sought views, sought meaning, and found it. In each story, in each life touched, in each difference made. On a Saturday afternoon, they went back to the park, to the bench where they met. 20 years later, sat in the same spot. "Do you remember?" Sarah asked. "Like it was yesterday," Jimmy responded. "You were reading Dune, with those glasses, all focused. And you came with that lame conversation," Sarah laughed. "Are you trying to flirt or want to know about the book?" Jimmy laughed too. "And you tested me right away. Someone had to test you back." They were silent, comfortable. "Do you think we would have met?" Sarah asked. "If you hadn't made those videos?" Jimmy thought. "I don't know. Maybe not. Because I wouldn't be here, in this park, on this day, trying again. So in the end, it was worth it." Jimmy looked at her. "You think?" Sarah took his hand, not for the videos, but for what they taught you, that you needed to change. And you changed. They stayed there longer, watching people pass, couples, families, alone, each with their story. "Do you still feel guilt?" Sarah asked. Jimmy knew what she was talking about. The women, the videos. Sometimes. Less than before. "But yes, I think I'll always feel it." "And that's okay," Sarah said. "Guilt isn't bad when it makes you better. It's only bad when it paralyzes you. And you're not paralyzed. No. I'm at peace, most of the time." They went home, holding hands. And Jimmy thought about everything he had lived. The highs, the lows, the mistakes, the hits, and realized he wouldn't change anything. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was necessary. Each mistake taught him. Each fall strengthened him. Each shame humbled him enough to grow. And in the end, everything led him there. To Sarah. To the life he had. And that life, imperfect as it was worth everything. That night, Jimmy made his last video. After 25 years on YouTube, decided to stop, went on the channel, looked at the camera, and said, "Today I close this channel. After 25 years, millions of videos, billions of views. I stop. Not because I don't love it anymore, but because I already did what I had to do, already learned what I needed to learn, and now I want to live. Without camera, without performance, just live." He paused. "I want to thank everyone who followed, those who stayed even when I changed, those who forgave me when I erred, those who believed when I grew. And mainly I want to thank one person, who saw me when I was worst, and stayed when I improved, who loved me when it was hard, and loves me still when it's easy. Sarah, you saved my life, in every possible way. Thank you." He looked at the camera one last time. "And to all of you, thank you. Live well. Love truly. And remember, views don't matter. Followers don't matter. What matters is who you are when you turn off the camera. Be that person good." And the video ended. Jimmy turned off the camera, for the last time, and felt relief. Not sadness. Relief. Sarah was at the door, watching. "You sure?" Jimmy went to her. Hugged. "I am, more than anything." And now we live, for real. And they lived, traveled, knew the world, without filming, without posting, just living. Spent time with kids, with grandkids that came, built memories, real, not documented, just lived. And Jimmy never regretted the decision to stop, to live away from cameras, to be just him. 10 years after stopping, at 58, Jimmy was diagnosed with cancer. Severe, aggressive. Doctors gave 6 months. Jimmy received the news in silence. Sarah cried, but he consoled her. "It's okay. I lived well, loved well, was loved. More than that, nobody can ask." In the following months, Jimmy organized everything. Recorded messages for kids, for grandkids, for Sarah. Private messages, just for them, not for the world. One of those days, lying in the hospital, Sarah beside him, Jimmy said, "Do you think I'm going to hell? For the videos?" Sarah held his hand. "No. Why? Because you regretted it, changed, made a difference. That counts. But I hurt people, and apologized, redeemed yourself, lived better. God sees that." Jimmy smiled weakly. "I hope so. Because I don't want to be away from you even after." Sarah kissed his forehead, crying. "You won't, I promise." Jimmy died on a Tuesday morning. Peaceful. Sarah beside him, kids around, in peace. At the funeral, hundreds of people showed up. People he had helped, lives he had touched, differences he had made, and some of the women from the old videos who came to pay respects to the man who had erred but had grown. One of them spoke at the funeral. "Jimmy hurt me a long time ago, humiliated, exposed, but then apologized, changed, and showed me it's possible to grow. That mistake doesn't define. That change is real. Thank you, Jimmy, for having the courage to change." Sarah cried. Jimmy was buried. Simple, no pomp, as he wanted, and life continued. Sarah lived another 15 years, teaching, dedicated grandmother, happy in her way. And when she died, at 71, was buried beside him. And finally they were together again. And this is the complete story, real, without perfect happy ending, but real, of a man who erred, a lot, who hurt people, who used his platform wrong, but who changed, for real, who grew, who redeemed himself, and who loved, deeply, and was loved back. And in the end, that's the only thing that really matters. Not the views, not the followers, not the fame, but love, real, imperfect, but true. To love and be loved. That's everything. Always was, always will be. And if you've made it to the end of this story, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. This was one of the most beautiful stories we've ever told here. The message is simple, but powerful. Treat everyone well. Everyone. Doesn't matter if the person is rich or poor, important or not, powerful or invisible. Treat everyone with respect, with dignity, with kindness, because you never know when that small gesture will change a life, or save one. The story of Jimmy and Sarah teaches us something fundamental, that redemption is possible, that change is real, that mistakes don't define us forever, but also that actions have consequences, that the harm we cause doesn't disappear just because we regret it. Jimmy hurt people, many people. Those women he exposed didn't ask to be part of his content, didn't consent to being filmed, didn't deserve the public humiliation. And saying sorry doesn't erase that. But it's a start. It's the first step. And Jimmy didn't stop there. He changed his entire life, changed how he treated people, changed the content he created, changed who he was. And that matters. That counts. Sarah saw something in Jimmy that nobody else saw. Not his money, not his fame, but his potential. The man he could become. And she loved that man, even before he existed fully. And her love transformed him, pulled him out of the darkness, showed him the light. This is the power of real love. Not love based on what someone has, but love based on who someone is, and who they can become. And Jimmy loved Sarah back, truly, deeply, because she saw him when nobody else did. Because she stayed when everyone else would leave. Because she believed when he didn't believe in himself. Their love saved both of them. From loneliness, from meaninglessness, from empty lives, and built something beautiful, real, lasting. So the final lesson of this story is this. Test all you want. Try to prove your points. Show the world how right you are. But in the end, none of that matters. What matters is finding that one person who sees you, really sees you. Not your car, not your house, not your followers, but you, your heart, your soul, your truth. And when you find that person, hold on. Never let go. Because that is the rarest thing in the world. Real connection, real love, real life. Everything else is just noise. Jimmy learned this the hard way. Through pain, through mistakes, through loss. But he learned. And in the end, that made all the difference. So live authentically, love deeply, and remember always, the best content you'll ever create isn't a video, it's your life. Make it count, make it real, make it yours.